My name is Mirga. I'm a Polish Romani, but I've been living in Barcelona for the past 5 years, studying and working with a local Roma NGO. So what is the position and the Roma women within the family and also in the society in general? I think one of the important things that we should recognize, and that sometimes is overlooked by the mainstream society, is that the fact that the Romani women in general are the fundamental part, the core of the Roma family. She's the one that really has the obligation of passing on the education and the cultural values to their children, and so in a way the sake of the survival of the Romani culture is in her hands in a way. And I guess traditionally there has always been this special divide between the Roma women and Roma men, because Roma men usually took on the part of representativity, of being outside, of doing the business, of speaking, being the opinion of the whole family, while the woman was always the queen of the inside world. No? Inside the house, she was always deciding about the crucial things related to the family, to the family economy, because normally a Romani man would bring the money to the Romani women and they would really decide what to do with it. So there has been this traditional role that the men are outside and they rule outside and the women rule inside of the house. And I think it's in general like this, that when we see the non-Roma society, it's also a little bit like that, that the men usually play the dominant role. So what we see now also within the Romani community is that the women every time become more emancipated, but not from their culture, but towards the outside world. They are much more open, they get into more contacts with things that before were a stranger to them. So I think it's important to recognize that we don't have to really look for a model of Roma feminism that's very much like the non-Roma feminism movement. Because we, the Romani women, we don't want to go against the men. We want to go with the men. So what I see many times with the policy on the Roma women's is that we really concentrate a lot on the gender as a Romani women issue only. We don't work with the men. So what we see is sometimes the Romani women, they undertake this evolution very quickly, that they go out, they see the world, they study, they travel, and then they cannot find a Roma man that can accompany her in this journey, because the speed of their development is different. So I think it's now important to know that the emancipation of women has to go along with the emancipation of men, that they also become more open and they go hand in hand in this evolution. And we have seen this very much in Spain, for example, that those women who have fought against a little bit all the odds and become university students and study and become emancipated, then they suddenly find out that they are 25 or 30 years old and they have not gotten married, because no Romani man wants a woman that's so much outside, so much independent, that she goes along her own ways. So I think it's important to think about this gender issue in general and work it on the both hands, you know, on the both sides, the Roma and men and the Roma women.
Ana, možeš da kažeš nešto o sebi?
O sebi?
Aha. Da si studirala, ne znam.
Okay. So,
da si primer.
Yes, okay. I come from a mixed marriage. My family on my father's side is a big Roma family. We are a lot of cousins and a lot of aunts and uncles, and we are very close. And on the side of my mother, this is a non-Roma family. And for me, I think this was important, because I always felt in between the both worlds, you know. I was lucky because I grew up in Krakow, in a big city, and I was the only Roma person in my primary school and my high school. And I was always very open, my roots, and I was saying, yes, I'm the Romni, I'm the Cyganeczka, I'm the Romani girl, you know. And I never had many discrimination when I was a child, you know, because for a Polish community, which we don't really have a lot of minorities, and we don't have a lot of contact with people from other cultures, it was something exotic, you know. So what my experience was that people took me, my teachers took me out of the class and they said, okay, so stand here in the middle of the class and tell us about your family and about the culture and all this Roma world, you know. It was like a fascination. So for me it was I grew up with the Romani pride, you know. I was never ashamed of who I was. I always thought it's like an added value that I'm cooler because I'm a Roma as well, apart from being Polish. So I think this experience marked me a lot when I was a child until now, because on the one hand I'm very open about who I am, and I also like to make people understand that we have identities that are complex, that are made of different elements. And you can be a Romani woman as well as you can be a national of your country, and you can also be a university student in a specific sector, or you can be have a hobby that's around a very specific issue. And all of these elements compose our identity and make us richer and more interesting, you know, outside and the inside. So I think maybe that's why for me it was so easy to study, you know, because I went to the university in Krakow, and I always explored academically also my identity to maybe find, you know, the elements and define myself, you know, in a more specific way. And then I came to Barcelona for Erasmus internship, and I stayed, you know, I came to Barcelona on the one hand because I spoke Spanish a little before, and also because I wanted to make my master's thesis about the Romani communities in Catalonia. So when I came here, I started to search for contacts, you know, and contact Romani organizations and meet people and meet Roma youth, you know, and make friends. And from one step to the other, I started to meet everyone, and there are some people that really helped me out and opened their doors to me. And I started to work in the Federation of Roma Associations in Catalonia. I made a lot of friends. I created a Roma youth organization, which is called Ternicalot, which forms part of the Ternipe Roma youth network. And it has been a very rich experience, you know. And I think it's interesting for a Roma person to travel to different Roma communities, because I really have a status of insider and outsider. Because on the one hand, I'm a Roma, so they treat me like part of the family, and they invite me to their houses, and they are completely honest with me, with everything, as a Romani, because we are on the same level. But on the other hand, I'm a Roma from a different part of the world. So some rules that apply here, like for example, the fact that I traveled alone 2,000 kilometers to a different country without my parents' supervision, for many Spanish Roma is unacceptable, you know. They really don't understand how it's possible that my father let me travel, you know. So it's interesting because some of the rules that they rule here, they don't apply to me, but still I am one of them. So it's interesting, I think, especially for the youth, because many young people don't realize that there are other Roma people and there are other models of being Roma. And you can be a Roma in many different ways. You know, there's not only said that you have to be Roma, you have to sell on the market, and you have to have a very long hair and big earrings. You know, you can also do this in a different way, because being Roma is what's really inside of you. So I think it's interesting for me as an experience to find common points between my community and the communities here, and also for them to meet somebody like me and see that we are all Roma. There are many things in common, but we are also very different.